Alright, House Nothing welcomes you to another DFK video. My second one, as promised, is going to be more about gameplay. We're going to get into the nitty gritty. It's time to have some fun. It's time to kill some boars, get mad loots, brag to your friends. What else would you even want to do with your life? Like most people, I struggled a little bit with this when it came out. I lost my first couple fights. I went about 50-50 for the next day, and then I kind of regrouped and reevaluated what was going on. You know, it was pretty obvious to most of us who tried that you just can't go all out aggression on these boars. Like, there are just mechanisms in place that are going to punish you if you're just doing as much damage as you can as quickly as possible. In this instance, we need to be reactive. We need to counter what they're up to. We need to understand exactly what they're up to, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Some inflection points, some kind of mini games that you can play within the boar hunt to deny them their ability to get their kind of hard-coded attacks in, because those are what's really going to affect your win-loss rate. Speaking of which, I don't just sit around theorizing about the game all day like I did in the last video. Hope you enjoyed it anyways, even though it was a bit dense. I also play quite a lot, not as much as some. Our good friends at DFK Quester have compiled a leaderboard. If you go up there and click this button up at the top left, on the default settings, I'm number 87, not super, impressive, but until you scroll to the right and see I've won 71% of my games. If you go up and sort by win percentage, we're currently in 4th place with 35 wins. That's pretty good, pretty decent sample size. I'm happy with that. I'm happy to share what I've been doing, and hopefully those of you who are not having as much success can learn a little something from this video and implement it in your game. So bragging aside, back in the tavern, if we start up a hunt, or a replay rather, the real thing you want to focus on in terms of a reactive game plan like I described is understanding exactly how the boar skills work. There may come a day relatively soon where we have all the classes implemented. You can use your absolute best of the best heroes. You can use your best of the best pets with combat bonuses. You can use a bunch of equipment. Today is not that day. We cannot power through these boars, not easily, not at a high percentage. Yes, you can ignore all this stuff and you will win some percentage of the time, but a lot can go wrong, and that's what we want to avoid. And while it is true that we don't want to just go all balls to the wall aggression, you also need to pick your spots to be aggressive, because we don't have infinite time. We have a finite number of resources. We have the number of HP that we start with total. We have a number of MP that we start with total, which equates to skills. And we have 3 potions. Those are our resources. If we can't kill the boars or get them close enough to kill with basic attacks by the time we run out of resources, that's an L. Like, you just can't. You have to be making progress. You have to be getting a little boar down, then another little boar down. You can't just sit there and heal and wait. So I think the thing that stuck out in most of our minds when we first saw the Void Hunts was Wild Charge. It's a big flashy move. You channel for a thing. There's not many ways to disrupt channeling in this game. It does a crap ton of damage. It's like, oh my god, how, if you ever get crit by it, good luck. There's certainly RNG involved with Wild Charge, but most of the time you can play around this. You see it coming. It's not going to devastate you, probably, if you're reasonably powered compared to the boars and you just see it and you have a turn to prepare. What is going to devastate you is Rampage, when you don't see it coming, when you don't know how it works. He's going to hit you hard. He's going to buff himself a lot, especially his speed. He's going to bleed you, daze you, and he's coming back soon because of that speed buff. It's a disaster. You really need to mitigate this. My successful runs, the big boar is able to get off between 0 and 1 rampages. It's very rare that you can win if he gets off 2. The other key inflection point that's going to decide whether you win or lose, mostly because of the resource kind of pull that I talked about, you have a finite amount of time, is nuzzle. Both of these boars have nuzzle. We need to understand exactly what this does. It works on allies, not self. So you need to distribute your damage in a way that minimizes the effect of nuzzle. Most of my successful runs have between 0 and 1, usually 1 nuzzle go off. If you have 2 nuzzles go off, you probably made a mistake. 3, you're going to have a tough time winning. What happened? Well, we won. Okay. Anyways, so those are the 2 kind of inflection points like I'm talking about. What I mean is, that's what's going to decide your run, more or less. It's not necessarily RNG about, did I miss too many times? Did he hit too many times? Did he crit too many times? That affects it. That does matter. But what really matters is whether your strategy is effective in limiting those 2 things, because those 2 attacks I just showed are hard-coded. They are not random. It is random whether they wild charge or do something else, whether they headbutt or do something else, whether they charm or do something else, etc. There is RNG involved in that. The other 2 that I just talked about are hard-coded. So we're going to get into exactly what parameters cause a rampage or a nuzzle to go off, and how we can, like I said, work a strategy around minimizing their effectiveness. First off, we have Rampage. I did not have consistent success on the Void Hunt until I understood this concept. If you're struggling, you probably don't understand this skill as well as you should. No problem. What I did when I was losing to this, I stopped playing, I looked at replays, I talked to other people that were playing, trying to figure out exactly how this was working, because it wasn't happening that often. It is hard-coded. It only procs under certain circumstances. So here we go. When exactly does it happen? When a small board dies and Mama has the ability to use that skill. When does she have the ability to use a skill? Great question. The way the game is currently constructed with the classes we have available, she can use Rampage when she is not channeling from her own wild charge. She is not exhausted post her own wild charge. We have no way to exhaust her yet. And she is not taunted, which is what we can do or not do with a knight. So our strategy is simple based on this. We want to kill the little boars when she cannot Rampage the next turn. If we have opted to use a knight in her front line and we are opting to use challenge in order to taunt, we can reasonably expect when things are going well to face 0 rampages during a successful win. If we're not opting to use a knight, or our knight is using Mighty Strike usually instead of challenge, then we're kind of aiming to only get 1 rampage. It's very possible to win a game when you suffer 1 rampage in a controlled environment. It's very tough when you don't know when she's going to rampage, or you accidentally make her rampage because you accidentally crit something when you're not trying to. That also happens. But if you understand how this skill works now, you can try to play around it. I'm going to show you an example a little bit later. But next we need to talk about Nuzzle. So much like Rampage, Nuzzle is a very difficult thing to deal with if you don't understand how it works. And also like Rampage, it is hard-coded. It's not random. So first, let's go over a few nuances that are easy to miss. Heal target ally. You cannot nuzzle yourself as a little boar. And also, when the little boars nuzzle the big boar, mama boar, it's a lot worse. They get a lot more healing and they buff themselves. You really want to avoid this. Also, Amnesia 5, that's a big deal. That's a long time. Usually, once somebody nuzzles, unless you're really screwing up and you're going to lose, they'll never nuzzle again. So we're looking at between 0 and 1 nuzzles on good runs. Usually 1. It's really tough to get 0 as possible, but things have to go really right in terms of the wild charge timing. So the hard coding that I referenced for nuzzle is quite simple. The boar will nuzzle 100% of the time when an ally is at less than 50% HP and they're not on amnesia. Oh yeah, nuzzle cleanses. I don't think I mentioned that when I was reading through the finer points. That's a big deal. Sometimes a nuzzle on like a mama boar can screw up your challenge. Sometimes it can screw up a damage over time effect that you're relying on. So just be wary of that. The best way I've found to kind of play around Nuzzle to make sure that they're only getting off 1 per fight is to distribute my damage based on Nuzzle. I don't necessarily load the skills that are in a vacuum the best. I always load the damage priest skill, for example, instead of the uber heal. I often use single target or triple target archer skills instead of 2 small stones. I think that's called, what's it called? 1 small stone. Anyways, even though that's a more powerful skill in kind of a raw level, it doesn't necessarily do what I want to do in terms of distributing damage to play around Nuzzle. So generally how my successful runs end up going in terms of Nuzzle, unless I get that super lucky wild charge around turn 3 or turn 4, which is really good time to get it, I'm going to accept that I need to deal damage through 1 Nuzzle. So I will blitz the frontmost little boar. I will accept the fact that when it gets to less than 50% health, the middle boar is going to nuzzle it, and then I'm going to keep doing damage to it and prep it to die when I have a window to avoid rampage. While I'm prepping that boar to die, and while I'm finding a window to avoid rampage, I'm going to make sure that I don't accidentally do too much damage to the middle or back mama boar in order for the front boar to nuzzle one of them. That's what you want to avoid. So I will often use potions. I'll use basic attacks sometimes. I'll use single target spells when obviously something could be better in terms of raw damage, just to avoid possibly doing an accidental crit and getting that second nuzzle. This will be a little more apparent. I'm going to go through an example soon, but you'll see what I mean. I don't necessarily do the strongest attacks every round is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to distribute the damage in a way that I can limit them to 1 nuzzle per fight. And once I've gotten through the frontmost spore and I've found my window to kill that, then I'm not in any danger of another nuzzle going off unless I accidentally get mama boar down below 50%. So that's where I'm going to focus fire on the middle. I'll do some damage to mama boar if she's at a buffer. You know, if her total HP, we'll say it's 1100, so I want to keep her above 550. So if she's at 8 or 900, I'm fine using one small stone. I don't really care. But if she's at a point where I'm going to accidentally crit her, and that's going to push her over the threshold to trigger another nuzzle, I'm just going to single attack the middle boar. I'm going to use a basic attack if I need to. I'm going to use potions if I'm stalling. I want to find another window if I can to kill the second baby boar if I'm trying to either set up a 0 rampage run, or sometimes I'm not going to be able to get a 0 rampage run. I don't have a knight that can challenge, and I'll just have to accept the fact that I want to control the rampage and use it at the most advantageous time, which is going to be Mama Boar close to 50% but not below, and so that I can actually race her rampage, and that's perfectly fine too. So long as you control it, you have a good chance of beating a single rampage. Okay, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and get in some live gameplay so you can see some of these concepts at work. Let me call this semi-live, right? I'm gonna pick a fight where it goes well and I can kind of show you what I'm talking about. There are fights where it just goes tits up, Murphy's Law happens. I'm perfectly happy to show that. In fact, I set one aside. I'm gonna do some later videos. So this replay I've affectionately called Unfathomable Horseshit. Anyways, this is the only account I'm playing this on. I don't really care that much. I showed you the win percentage early. I'm going to show you a successful run, basically, but it's not always successful. Stuff happens. I don't think the true win rate, even using these strategies, is above 90%. I think it's probably between 80 and 90%, depending on the hero quality. I'm just going to grab 3 pretty typical guys, level 10s, using the normal party composition. So what I mean by normal is knight, archer, priest, and they're all level 10s, they're all the same levels. There's a lot of stuff you can do, and I think the next video is going to be about party compositions, where you can do some really weird compositions, unbalanced compositions. You can kind of carry some other heroes. I'm going to go all through that in the next video, I think. But right now, this is just kind of my very basic loadout that I've been using just to grind. Like I said, nothing really groundbreaking with this loadout. The boars went first and they rearranged me a little bit. I just want to go through and show how I try to deal with the rampage and nuzzle mechanics like I showed you. Okay. I'll do kind of a more in-depth gameplay guide, like I said, a little later. So right now I just want to do as much damage as I can the first couple rounds. I like piercing arrow in the beginning. I want to get some damage on the back 2 lines, but I want to focus on the front line. This is what I want to take out first. With the new patch, he always gores, she always gores, rather. I call this he and she for no particular reason. Pay no attention to that. But she always gores on the first turn, which is a really nice change, because that used to be a really bad RNG, kind of feels bad moment when she would wild charge on the first turn, because you just can't kill this quick enough to take advantage of that window, and it's just total dumb luck, just kind of BS. I do like the offensive spell for the priest. I realize that the healing spell is really good in terms of value. I don't care, I need to do damage, because my ultimate goal is not to heal as much as possible or deal as much damage as possible on any given turn. It's to enact a strategy. So 606 is his total. These numbers are hard to see. Sorry about that. It's bad for me. I've got bad eyesight. So 608, so below 304 is at 384 right now. The middle one is going to nuzzle it. I'm probably just going to accept that fact. I've already hit it a bunch of times. If I had missed it a bunch of times, I would start to think about maybe she's going to wild charge. All right, and I am happy to piercing arrow again. The only reason I wouldn't piercing arrow here is if I crit the middle one or something and it was in danger of bleeding its way down to halfway. I don't want to do that. So I'm just getting all the damage. This damage matters on the backboard. That's going to help you, avoid some nonsense at the end, getting it down. You don't want to get it too low. I don't want it below 600, but 700 or 800 is great. I'm taking some damage on the front due to that swap. Don't love that. I'll probably have to heal. Don't get dazed. Oh, I got dazed. There's the nuzzle we knew about. It cleansed the bleed. It did not cleanse the holy light because I had 2 dots on it. So I'll use Prayer of Freedom on very small instances where this guy gets like taunted. I don't want this guy to be taunted right now. I don't reposition too much except in extreme scenarios. Like right now I'm just going to heal through this. I'm going to use the heal over time. That's just the most efficient way I've found to deal with this. This archer is perfectly fine. So now we're at 317. It's got a dot on it. We pop the nuzzle. So now I want to set it up. So I'll go ahead and do this again. If this knight didn't randomly have a bunch of MP, I'd be using basic attacks. I could consider a reposition here, but I don't really like repositioning. The boars always have a chance to move you around, so I only do it in extreme circumstances. 244, so we're a bit low. We're starting to think about a freedom heal right here and think about a reposition probably. We could have tried to kill this now with a taunt up, but we decided not to do that because it's kind of just asking a little bit too much. 834 with a bleed. I can probably do one more piercing arrow, so I will. Like I said, I just don't want to, cause a nuzzle to come here. I want this to be the only nuzzle that happens in the game. So that was all fine. This guy is now dotted. He doesn't need much more. He's prepped to die. I need to try to get a taunt. And there you see I just got switched back. I'm glad I didn't reposition. We have 3 more turns of Holy Beacon, so you're fine. We can get headbutted by the middle one, but he's not going to do 208 damage, so we're fine. We're actually going to use a damage spell here, because this guy isn't in danger. If it starts to wild charge, it will be in danger, but my priest will get to go again before the charge goes off, so we can do kind of a potion, a healing potion, and a heal. So that's kind of what I try to do. I'm going to try to taunt next turn with my knight. After the dot, this little boar needs another 110 damage. I'll probably do that with a single shot on the archer. So that'll be the plan, is to taunt, kill, and if we don't taunt, we got another chance there. If we don't taunt, this guy will fight somebody else. So priest is going to start doing some damage on the middle boar. We're at 510 out of 608, so I haven't been hitting it with the piercing arrow, so it's fine to do that. Now, hopefully we get the taunt. It's pretty annoying when you don't, but there's not much you can do about it. He might just wild charge if I don't anyways, but this is a point where we will stall if we fail on the taunt. He resisted, so he might end up stalling, or he'll wild charge. He wild charges. So now I'm free to kill this, but we do need to hustle a little bit to make sure we don't die. We're healing. We're using the single. I certainly don't want to risk a small stone or anything like that right now. I just want this minimum damage, and then the dot will kill it. So while this is channeling, I want to kill this. You know, that's what we talked about, right? So this is a perfect kill window, 83%. Hopefully we get full damage. Nice. So the dot's going to kill it. Bada bing. Now this guy can't do anything that we care about unless Mama Boar gets below half. Then she can nuzzle it. So I really don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to focus fire on this. Right now we need to heal. We've got 2 more turns to get as healthy as possible before this wild charge. I'll play it a little conservative and do the big heal on this. I don't want to reposition. I don't really want to use a potion on my priest. My priest, if it dies at this point, it's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. So I am just going to attack with my knight. Knight is not really in range of getting wild charged to death. So we'll just start putting some damage here. A daze would be nice. That'll help the priest not get dazed maybe with the buff. And here comes Mama. We get a pretty decent result. You know, like I said, when you can prepare for this wild charge, you know, obviously if you get crit 2 or 3 times, you know, that can ruin your day, no doubt. I was not prepared for that. I don't tend to play around, you know, the super outliers like that. I just, you know, whatever. But like that'll happen a lot, or a little bit worse. If it had been a little worse, if the priest was down to this right now, I mean, how much does that affect me? Mama is not going to be attacking my priest anytime soon. Little boar is not on, you know, it has a chance to headbutt, sure, but I don't really care that much. If my priest dies at this point, it doesn't really matter. So we think about small stone now, or just focus fire the little boar. We'll go ahead and pop a small stone. I think it's fine. I'm not going to crit Mama for 300, so, but I do want to be careful not to crit. My passive is the piercing one because I don't really, I want to control my damage. So like I've been in control of this damage pretty well, so that's why I do that. Okay, that sucked. So I don't think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 possible hits. Yeah, I guess I can kill this thing, right? While it's exhausted. That would be ideal, wouldn't it? I think we can do it. My archer's banged up, but if we get this boar out of the way, like, the fight's basically over. Like, I could heal the archer now at 117, so she's definitely vulnerable for sure. But I'll have another shot. I don't think this boar is going to do 117. Oh wait, we're going to go next and get 2 heals. We're perfectly fine. So we just want to nuke the middle boar. And we'll get this probably killed. This is a really good run. I'm going to do full focus on the middle boar just to make sure I get it before here. This is where we need to kill it by, because this is when exhaustion is going to wear off and it can rampage. So how exhaust works, you can only basic attack, and rampage is not a basic attack. So I kill this boar before this exhaustion wears off. He's just going to basic attack and forget about the rampage. If Mama doesn't get to do the rampage, the attack after you trigger it by killing a baby, she just forgets. So you're perfectly fine. So we just really want to kill this. We have 3 shots at it. I'll even risk my archer dying because we get this baby down and it's just over. Okay, so we're out of mana, which is fine. Just basic attack should maybe do it. Not quite. Dang, so we need to hit with the priest too. That's unfortunate. But we'll go ahead and basic attack with the priest. Hope to hit 83% of the time. We're in an amazing shape for a really good run. 17% of the time. That happens, and now we need to deal with this again. That's fine. Unfortunately, we're going to get rampaged because it's under a dot. So we got unlucky with that 83%er. We needed to do a little more damage. So this is where we have one rampage coming. I'm going to use my potions to try to help me. I'm going to use a potion on my archer right here. Rampage can almost kill my priest, but not quite. Okay. I think we use another potion. Or maybe I just put another dot. Yeah, I'll just use a potion on the self to be safe. Rampage is coming. We want to be at a healthy life total. So this is, this could be going a lot better for sure, but it's fine. So you have one more round going. You have 2 bleeds. I think we'll just use another dot heal. And we should be fine to just basically heal our way through this rampage. Nothing we could really do there. We kind of just missed and didn't get as much damage as we should have. So now it's super buffed, but we were ready for it. We got one more potion if we need it. At the end, I tend to just save that potion in case something goes wrong. Although there's not much that can go wrong. All he can do is grunt and gore us, which is not that dangerous right now. But in case we crit a bunch and we miss a bunch, I'll just save that potion. Alright, so here we are at the end. We took a wild charge. We took some damage. We're fine. If we had avoided that rampage, we would have won this by a lot. Now we win it by medium amount. I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't care how much I win by. I just want to win and go on to the next fight. Bang. Nope, didn't kill it. That would have been pretty cool if I did, right? Bang. Probably miss. Nope, we got the win. So that's what I mean in terms of dealing with the nuzzle and the rampage. And then once I do, if I take one nuzzle and then one rampage where I can control it and be at full health, and kill the other boar, the second boar in order to trigger it, we're 1-on-3 with plenty of health. We can win that fight almost always. If that second wild charge that killed my archer, if it had, triple critted me or something crazy happened, we can still lose that fight, no doubt. But that's not really, something you can control. That's really not something I play around. I just wanted to show you the inflection points like I talked about. If we had screwed up with our damage distribution and a bunch more nuzzles went off, that's the way this victory can turn into a loss. If we had screwed up on the rampage and triggered 2, that can turn this victory into a loss. But we didn't do that, and we were just able to, get the win pretty easily. This is what I like to do with the kind of standard play. I'll go through some other ones in a different video, that some kind of wonky builds, but yeah, like I said, this was just intended to be a standard game to show that, we win pretty comfortably. I've had a lot better, had worse, whatever. Hope you learned something. Hope this improves your win percentage. Happy hunting.